Now, the thing that I think is happening is that what a lot of people don't realize is that shows like this, especially serial shows where you're getting to know the characters over a long period of time, and I think this is especially true of a show like The Office, is that what's actually happening is that the reason why these shows are popular, the ones that really get popular, that make people feel cozy, make them want to just rewatch it, that will make them want to put it in the background and almost live inside of it. What's happening, I think, in most of those cases, is that the show itself represents a family, and so and the reason why it's so important that it be an office or it be a starship and it not be a family is that if it was an actual literal family, it's too triggering. I think that what happens is your subconscious is able to really play out sort of the life of a family a lot easier when it's not in the context of a family where a mother is actually a mother and you're like, oh, too much like my mother, or too different than my mother. It's much more helpful, and this is why I think fantasy is so popular. It's much more helpful to have the actual family be a non-family, but that represents archetypally the elements of the family. So if you look at this picture here, obviously Picard is like the father, and Riker, he literally calls him number one. So he represents sort of like the firstborn son of the family. And then you have the empath, which is Deanna Troy, who's clearly representing the mother who is constantly processing everyone's feelings. You have the Beverly Crusher, who's the doctor, who really represents kind of another aspect of motherhood, really the aspect that is, more physically caring. So you have the emotionally caring mother, the physical caring mother, and then they brought Guinan in as sort of like the third archetypal mother who really is the intuitive mother. So she's got these incredible intuitions. She could just sense when things are going wrong. And then of course you have the rest of the cast, who are very much like, the rest of the family members and their unique giftings and how they work as a team constantly to solve problems. And it's a fascinating way. You got Wesley Crusher, who's like very much like a son of the captain, in the way that they describe. And so there's a very much a father figure, father son. So it is such a good depiction of family life. Um, and I really think it's important for people to understand why we desperately need these. Now, what you'll find today is that you'll never be able to have a show where the two people in charge are both male. That's why, of course, when they came out with Voyager, if you got, I mean, that just considered sexist in our culture. You desperately want to make the leader a female, and if you do have a male leader, you definitely want to make sure that the second in command is a female. And one of the things that I find so interesting about Star Trek: The Next Generation, it was just before propaganda took over Hollywood, like literally like on the cusp. The very next shows all have a overt attempt to reverse gender roles from a traditional family context, whereas the Next Generation perfectly represents the gender roles. And so there's no hint of propaganda in the show because of that, because it pre-existed those efforts by the culture and especially by the creative culture. So it's very easy to really see the elements of the family, and every single episode is essentially a family team trying to solve usually a moral and physical dilemma, usually a couple storylines that are being interwoven, and you're watching really good fatherhood. I mean, the whole show is basically the world's most skilled father on the planet who is just like, able to perfectly balance and bring together all the elements, who honors every single member of the team, honors the maternal, honors the paternal, honors the sons, honors the daughters, just like constantly helps them work together. It is just a master class in family, even though there are basically no families, like there are no husband wife couples with children that are part of the main cast, which again is really good, because if there were, the whole thing would be too overt and too triggering and too literal. Like you needed to be abstract to actually enter your subconscious mind and allow you to just enjoy what a good family life was always designed to be like. And I think even the experience of somebody like Riker, the, you know, the first officer, or the other sons, Data and Geordi and Worf, and what they represent in the story, they're adults. And this is what I crave more than anything else is stories that show me how an adult family can work together in an appropriate way, solve problems and stay peaceful where everyone is feeling fully released in their unique giftings. And is that helpful and interesting for 7 seasons? It's like amazing. So I just want to like kind of articulate why I think this is such a valuable show, and why our family has been so into it for so long, to the extent that we actually have to ration the amount we watch it. And I didn't know why. Honestly, I was like, I decided just to take a step back and just ask this question: Why are we so into this? I didn't know why. I just know we've been into it for like over a decade, and it's nostalgic for me because I watched this with my parents when I was growing up. But then I was like, oh, I think I know what's going on here. It really was. Listened to this amazing podcast series on The Office, the oral history of The Office, which is on Spotify, and they really articulate that this is the why The Office is so popular. It's a family, but it's a family couched in an office, so that it allows people to experience family through their subconscious and not directly and literally, which is can be really painful and frustrating and annoying. And it's much easier to do it abstractly and sort of in this sort of secondary way. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what's going on with Star Trek: The Next Generation.